All right, algebraic multiplication. Doesn't that sound technical? It's really quite easy, and I've already talked about this multiple times with you guys in class because I like to write it differently than using the time sign. So you've already seen me do this a lot. But as you get older, you're not going to be writing this anymore. Less and less and less. So let me just read what it says up in number 1. Algebra, a continuation of arithmetic, is a branch of mathematics that uses letters and other symbols to represent unknown numbers and applies arithmetical, math operations to them. Number 2, because X is a letter that can represent a number, multiplication in algebra is often expressed by using the dot. So a lot of times in algebra they use the X. So obviously you don't want to be putting the times sign in your algebra problem because like which one's the X and which one does it mean time? When does it mean times? So a lot of times they use the dot. Even more so, they will just do this. That means 6 times 3. All right. Number 3, a letter and a number appearing side by side indicate multiplication. So if you see 4s, that means 4 times the side. All right. If you see, here's the area of a circle. So this means area equals pi times radius squared. They're just right next. Now, obviously, if you have numbers, all numbers, you can't do that. You're either going to have to do the dot or you're going to have to do parentheses. But when you have letters and symbols like that, you can just put them next to each other. So let's practice writing these. So if we have the circumference of a circle and we have pi and we have diameter, we can just write it C equals pi and then the diameter. And that means pi times the diameter. In the area of a, this could be a rectangle, which usually that's length times width. This is usually, what am I thinking? Parallelogram or a rhombus. No, not a, yeah, rhombus. We would do area equals BH. And then for the perimeter of a rectangle, you can write 2L plus 2W. And I often put the parentheses, but you really don't need them because remember we learned order of operations. We know that we have to multiply before we can add. Area of a triangle is 1/2 times the base times the height. And you know I like to write it the other way, but that's just a personal preference. All right, so now let's go back to what we learned yesterday. All right, so we have 2 plus 2 times 2. 2 plus 2 times 3. So do you remember, well, let me just review, okay? Parentheses come first, then exponents, then multiplication and division in order, and then addition and subtraction in the order from left to right. You can put this like this. Okay? All right, so no parentheses, no exponents. So we have one multiplication. So that has to be done before we do the 2. So I can just write the 6 above here because 2 times 3 is 6. And then I'm going to add it to the 2, which would make 8. Now remember I showed you the other day that we can't just go across. 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. So do you see how you get a totally different answer? On this one we have a division, which really a fraction is always just a division, times a number. So we'll just do this first right here because it came first. 15 divided by 3 is 5, and then times 6 would be 30. On this one, we better do the exponent first. So it's going to be 7 times 4, and that would be 28. We definitely don't want to do the exponent last. You and there is, I know in algebra, I think there's a way you can write it where you would multiply it first, and then I think if they did this, yeah, in algebra, then you would multiply first and then square the answer. It would be 14 squared. But that's not what we have here. All right, so in this one, now see how the multiplication technically should be first, but these parentheses are trumping that. So because there's parentheses, we need to do those first, which is 9. Then we can do 5 times 9, which is 45. All right, now we have 3/4, and the reason this is in parentheses, guys, is so that you don't because I think there's also something in algebra where you can do that, where you do this first and then go over it, and that's not what they want you to do here. They want you to do 3/4 times 3/4 first, and what is that? 9/16, right? And that will be added to 3/16, which is 12/16, and that can be reduced to 3/4. Oops. Okay. All right. Find the areas and write the formulas without using the symbols. All right, so I'm not going to solve all these for you, but in fact, I don't want you to solve these. You don't need to solve these, okay? Let's take a little break. Don't solve these, but let's write the formula without writing the multiplication symbols, okay? So the area, we're doing area of a circle is pi times radius squared. So we're going to write it without the times. Area of a triangle is area equals 1/2 times base times height. Oh, I know why they want you to solve it, because you got to do certain ones first. Yeah, maybe I should have you solve them. They're saying, no, don't make me solve them. All right, I'll give you a break. All right, here we go. Area of a rectangle is just length times the width. All right, area of a parallelogram, base times the height. Area of a rectangle, length times the width. Area of a triangle, 1/2 times base times height. Just so I don't feel too guilty for not having you do these, look at this, okay? So what do we have to do first? Yep, we have to do that, right? You have to square it first, and then you can solve it, which you already know how to do that, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. All right, let me go to the back, which I do have to say, I know Judson listens to some of these, so Judson, if you're listening to this, you better do that because you have different teachers than my kids. Let's see. No, I wanted to. All right, so 137, the back of it. There we go. All right, name the type of angle with these measured degrees. I'll do this with you. So remember, a 90-degree angle is the right angle, right? Greater than 90 degrees, which would be 91 to 179, would be obtuse. And less than 90, which would be 1 to 89, would be acute. All right. So if it's 37, what is it? Acute. If it's 125, obtuse. 180, oh, do you remember that one? I didn't even write that one. Straight line. 89, acute. 90, right. Okay. Draw a 95-degree and bisect it with a compass. Let's see if you can do that on your own without me helping you. Don't forget to move these decimals over before you start dividing. This looks pretty easy. That looks pretty easy. That's really easy. The amount of sugar in a rectangular box holds in cubic inches is a formula. Okay, so this is something kind of new they're throwing at you. We're doing a three-dimensional object, which you've never done before. So let me look at this with you. The amount of sugar in a rectangular box holds in cubic inches, in little cubes, because it's three-dimensional, okay? It's not squared, it's cubed. It actually holds little like cube-sized things. That's how we measure a three-dimensional object, this box. So to figure out what it is, I don't know why they throw this in a review. So the volume of a box is the length times the width times the height. And that will tell us how much cubed inches of sugar it would hold. So if the length is 5 inches, right? It will be times the width, which is 4 inches, times the height, which is 2 inches. So how many cubic inches will that hold? Now I'm going to tell you right off the bat, when it's all multiplication like that, this only applies if something's all addition or all multiplication. It does not matter what order you do it in, because I see that 5 times 2 makes 10, right? And then 10 times 4 is 40. That will work. You could do 5 times 4 is 20, and 20 times 2 is 40. Either way, you could do 2 times 4 is 8, and 8 times 5 is 40. But that's because it's all multiplication, and it doesn't matter the order. It only works for all multiplication and all addition. Everything else, it matters. Even if you're having some addition and multiplication mixed in a problem, it matters. Okay, so this was 40, and it was inches, but this is a three-dimensional object. It's cubed, so you put a 3 up there. Okay, or you write cubic inches. David Blackburn receives a commission of $50. His rate of commission is 5%. How much were his sales? That's just 5% of $50. That's easy. All right, so looks like you can do the rest on your own. So hopefully you do well on this. Do the extra credit. Oh, there's not much extra credit. Maybe this division right here. So anyway, do the best you can, and I will talk to you later. Bye.